Hey guys, tonight we slip into the gaslit haze of Victorian London, where the air hums with secrets and the cobblestones gleam under a drizzle that never quite stops. Picture yourself in a velvet cloak, brushing past horse-drawn carriages, their wheels clattering like a heartbeat. You're not here for the grand balls or the stuffy parlors. You're chasing whispers, the kind tucked into the diaries of courtesans who loved fiercely and dangerously. These women, draped in silk and suspicion, scribbled truths that could topple empires, or at least a few lords. Fair warning, diving into their world might make your cozy bed feel like a conspirator's hideout, and you probably won't survive this without craving a cup of tea by candlelight. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and you're walking now, boots tapping on slick stones, the fog curling around you like a nosy ant. It's 1860, and London's a beast, half-glittering jewel, half-rotting underbelly. The West End sparkles with theaters and chandeliers, but you're veering toward the demi-monde, the half-world where courtesans reign. These women aren't the streetwalkers of Whitechapel, they're the kept ones, draped in Parisian gowns, their names whispered in gentlemen's clubs. Their diaries, though, those are the real treasure, leather-bound, hidden in secret drawers, spilling truths about forbidden love. You pause outside a townhouse, its windows glowing amber. Inside, a woman named Cora Pearl, a real-life courtesan, might be dipping her quill in ink, writing about a lover who risks everything for her. Cora's no myth. She was a star of the 1860s, charming princes and bankrupting dukes. Her diary, if it existed, would have been a scandal bomb. Imagine pages detailing trysts in Hyde Park, coded to dodge prying eyes. Historians still argue whether Cora was a romantic or a ruthless opportunist. But you feel the pull of her story. You're not just reading history, you're sneaking into her world, where every glance is a contract, every sigh a gamble. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans used invisible ink made from lemon juice, revealed only by heat. Bet that'd make your grocery list feel boring. You linger, hearing the clink of champagne glasses inside. The air smells of coal smoke and jasmine perfume, a mix that screams danger and desire. These women lived on a knife's edge, balancing society's adoration with its scorn. Their diaries weren't just love letters, they were maps of survival, charting who to trust and who to ruin. You wonder what it's like to love someone you can't keep, knowing one wrong word could land you in the gutter. The fog thickens, and you move on, drawn to the next shadow, the next secret. This city's alive, and it's whispering to you. Can you hear it? A carriage rattles past, splashing mud on your hem. You smirk, at least it's not crocodile dung, which, believe it or not, some Victorians swore by as sunscreen. Gross, right? You're already knee-deep in this world, and it's not letting go. The diaries you're chasing aren't just stories. They're time machines, pulling you into hearts that beat against the odds. You're not here to judge, you're here to listen, to feel the weight of their choices. The townhouse fades behind you, but Cora's voice lingers, urging you to keep walking, keep searching. Where to next? The night's young, and London's secrets are endless. You're deeper in London's maze now, the gaslights flickering like they're in on the secrets. The streets hum with the clop of hooves and the murmur of late-night deals, but you're focused on something quieter. A small, locked diary, its pages heavy with candlelit confessions. You're outside a discreet maison, where courtesans like the infamous Catherine Walters, known as Skittles, pen their truths. The air's thick with rosewater and intrigue, and you can almost hear the scratch of a quill. These diaries aren't just gossip rags, they're vaults of forbidden love, sealed with codes only the brave or reckless would crack. Picture yourself slipping into a velvet-draped room, the kind where shadows dance on brocade walls. You find a diary, its leather worn soft, secured with a tiny brass lock. Catherine, a real 1860s courtesan, was a master of secrecy. Her charm reeled in lords, but her pen guarded her heart. Historical fact, she was so famous that crowds gathered to watch her ride in Hyde Park, her horse a gift from a smitten duke. You imagine her riding late at night, candle wax dripping, encoding names to shield her lovers. A quirky tidbit, some courtesans used ciphers inspired by naval signals, scribbling dots and dashes like spies. Bet your group chat feels tame now. You try to picture the code. Maybe Lord B becomes Starlight, or a date is veiled as a flower's name. Historians still argue whether these diaries were heartfelt or calculated, a lover's cry or a blackmailer's ledger. You lean toward the former, feeling the ache in every looped letter. The room's warm, the air heavy with wax and longing. You're not just holding a book, you're holding someone's soul, their defiance against a world that adored and despised them. Outside, a carriage creaks, and you flinch. Privacy's fragile here. You wonder who Catherine loved enough to risk everything. Was it the politician who sent her pearls, or the poet who slipped sonnets under her door? The diary doesn't spill easily, its pages tease, offering glimpses of stolen kisses in fog-draped gardens. You smirk at the thought of Victorian snoops trying to crack her code. Good luck, mate. You'd need a cryptographer and a prayer. The candle sputters, and you realize time's slipping. You want to stay, to decode every word, but the night's pulling you forward. You tuck the diary under your cloak, its weight a quiet promise. The maison's windows glow, but you're already moving, boots soft on the pavement. Remember Cora Pearl's jasmine-scented townhouse? This place feels sharper, like it's daring you to judge. You don't. How could you? These women juggled love and survival in a city that bet against them. A stray cat darts past, and you chuckle it's probably got fewer enemies than Catherine did. The fog's thicker now, curling like it wants to keep you here. You're not done yet. There's more to uncover, more hearts to hear. Where's this diary leading you next? You're still clutching that diary, its leather warm against your skin, as you weave through London's glittering West End. The fog's parted just enough to reveal grand townhouses, their windows spilling golden light onto the street. You're stepping into the world of a courtesan's gilded cage. Lavish, yes, but lonely, like a birdcage draped in silk. Women like Laura Bell, a real 1850s courtesan, lived here, their days a blur of opulence and isolation. You can smell the beeswax polish and hear the rustle of taffeta, but there's a hollowness, too, like a song played on a single string. Imagine you're inside Laura's drawing room, all crimson drapes and mirrored vanities. Her diaries open on a rosewood desk, ink still drying. She was no ordinary beauty, historical fact. Laura's charm turned a clergyman into a lovesick fool, sparking sermons against her wickedness. You read her words, each one a tightrope walk between power and vulnerability. She describes breakfasts alone, staring at porcelain teacups, while her patrons, dukes, MPs, parade through her life like actors in a play. A quirky tidbit, some courtesans kept pet parrots trained to mimic their lovers' voices, a feathered jab at their fleeting devotion. Bet your Alexa's got nothing on that. You sink into a plush chair, the diary's weight grounding you. Laura writes of love, but it's tangled with loneliness. She craves someone who sees her, not just her silk gowns. Historians still argue whether courtesans like her were victims of circumstance or cunning architects of their fate. You feel the truth lies in the cracks. In the quiet moments she confesses to missing a life she'll never have. The room's too warm, the air thick with lavender and regret. You wonder how she smiled through it all, hosting soirees while her heart ached. A clock chimes, and you glance at the door. Someone's coming, or maybe it's just the wind. You're not supposed to be here, rifling through her secrets. The diary hints at a lover, not a patron. Someone who met her in secret, away from prying eyes. You smirk. Sneaking around in crinoline sounds like a workout. Remember Catherine's coded pages? Laura's are less cryptic but no less guarded, her words veiled in metaphors. Love as a caged lark, freedom as a distant shore. You're hooked, aren't you? This isn't just history, it's a pulse, beating under the city's skin. You rise, reluctant, as a carriage clatters outside. The diary stays open, its pages daring you to return. You step back into the night, the fog wrapping you like a conspirator. Laura's world lingers. Those parrots, that empty teacup. You chuckle softly, at least your coffee mug doesn't judge you. The street's alive with whispers, and you're chasing them, drawn to the next shadow where love and danger dance. Where's this path taking you now? You're hurrying now. The diary tucked close, as London's fog swirls thicker like it's trying to hide you. You're headed to a quiet corner of Hyde Park, where gaslights barely pierce the mist. This is where courtesans like Marie Duplessis, the inspiration for La Traviata, stole moments with lovers who defied society's rules. You feel the damp grass underfoot, hear the rustle of leaves, and catch the faint scent of tobacco and violets. These clandestine meetings, stolen glances in the gloom, are the pulse of forbidden love, and you're right in the middle of one. Picture yourself leaning against a gnarled oak, the bark rough through your cloak. Marie, a real 1840s courtesan, was here once. Her diary, noting a lover's whispered promise under these same branches. Historical fact, Marie's beauty captivated Paris and London, but tuberculosis claimed her at 23, leaving her diary as a fragile legacy. You imagine her standing here, heart racing, as a shadowed figure approaches. A lord, maybe, or a poet mad enough to risk ruin. A quirky tidbit. Some courtesans carried tiny mirrors to signal lovers across parks, flashing coded glints in the dark. Bet your flashlight app feels basic now. You strain to see through the fog, feeling the thrill of secrecy. Marie's diary, if you held it, would spill details of these meetings, coded names, hurried kisses, the dread of discovery. Historians still argue whether her love was genuine or a performance honed by survival. You lean toward genuine. There's a rawness in her story, a hunger for something real. The air's heavy, charged with whispers you can't quite catch. You're not just a bystander. You're complicit, heart thumping as footsteps crunch nearby. A twig snaps, and you freeze. Is it a lover or a spy? You smirk. Sneaking around in Victorian skirts must have been louder than a marching band. The fog cloaks everything, but you feel eyes watching. Marie's world was all about timing. Too early. You're suspicious too late. You're caught. You think back to Laura's lonely teacup, Catherine's ciphers. These women juggled desire and danger like pros. You chuckle softly. Your worst secret's probably a forgotten password, not a scandal that could torch your life. You move deeper into the park. The diary's weight, a quiet anchor. The mist swirls, and you swear you see a silhouette, Marie maybe, or just your imagination. The park's alive, its shadows holding stories that never made the history books. You're hooked, chasing the next fleeting glance, the next whispered vow. Where's this night pulling you now? You're slipping away from Hyde Park now, the fog trailing you like a jealous lover. The city's pulse quickens as you head toward a quiet street, where a courtesan's townhouse glows faintly behind lace curtains. You're chasing the ink of their diaries, those moonlit confessions that bleed with yearning. Women like Sophia Baddeley, a real 1770s actress turned courtesan, poured their hearts onto these pages, and you're here to read between the lines. The air smells of damp stone and fading roses, and you hear the soft creak of a window above, as if someone's watching. Imagine you're inside Sophia's bedroom, the walls papered in soft blue, a single candle flickering on a mahogany desk. Her diary lies open, its pages crowded with looping script. Historical fact: Sophia's affairs with nobles were so notorious they inspired satirical cartoons in London's papers. You trace her words, each one heavy with longing for a lover who swore to run away with her. She describes his voice, his touch, in a way that makes your chest ache. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans hid diary entries in hollowed-out books, tucked among dull tomes like sermons on modesty. Bet your bookshelf's never been that sneaky. You settle onto a velvet stool, the diary's intimacy pulling you in. Sophia writes of sleepless nights, her heart torn between love and the life she's built. Historians still argue whether her passion was reckless or a desperate grab for freedom. You feel it's both. Love's messy like that. The candlelight dances casting shadows that feel alive. You're not just reading, you're living her truth, feeling the weight of every choice. The room's warm, the air thick with wax and unspoken dreams. A floorboard creaks, and you glance up. Nobody's there, but your pulse spikes. You smirk, at least your late-night snacks don't come with this much drama. Sophia's words linger, painting a love that burns too bright for London's rules. Remember Marie's park rendezvous. This feels raw, like Sophia's baring her soul to the page. You chuckle softly. Your journal's probably just grocery lists, not vows that could ruin you. The diary's pages flutter in a draft, urging you to keep reading, but the night's moving fast. You rise, reluctant, and slip back into the street. The townhouse fades, but Sophia's voice clings to you, all yearning. You're still carrying her diary, a silent promise. The city's alive, its secrets humming in the shadows. Where's this story pulling you next? You're weaving through London's gaslit streets again. The diary still pressed against you, its secrets buzzing like a hidden pulse. The fog's thinner now, revealing the grand facades of Mayfair, where courtesans like Harriet Wilson held court. You're stepping into her world, a masquerade of motives, where lovers, spies, and patrons circle like moths around a flame. The air carries a whiff of cigar smoke and intrigue, and you hear the distant clink of crystal from a nearby salon. This is where love gets tangled in power, and every smile hides a scheme. Picture yourself slipping into Harriet's opulent parlor, all gilded mirrors and emerald drapes. Her diary, a real artifact from the 1820s, sits on a lacquered table, its pages brimming with sharp wit. Historical fact: Harriet's memoirs, published in 1825, blackmailed half of London's elite, naming lovers who paid to stay anonymous. You flip through her entries, each one a chess move. She juggles a duke's devotion, a spy's whispers, and a rival's betrayal. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans used scented ink like violet or amber to mark letters meant for specific lovers. Bet your emails don't smell that fancy. You lean closer, the diary's candor pulling you in. Harriet writes of a lover who's more than a patron, a young officer maybe, whose promises feel dangerously real. But there's a catch, a jealous patron's watching, and a spy's lurking, ready to sell her secrets. Historians still argue whether Harriet was a romantic at heart or a master manipulator playing the long game. You suspect she's both, her pen dancing between sincerity and strategy. The room's alive with tension, the air heavy with perfume and suspicion. You're not just reading, you're caught in her web, wondering who'll blink first. A laugh echoes from the hall, and you freeze. Is it a guest or a threat? You smirk. At least your group chat dramas don't involve actual espionage. Harriet's world is a tightrope. Love means risk, trust means ruin. Remember Sophia's moonlit confessions? Harriet's sharper, her diary, a blade disguised as a love letter. You chuckle softly. Your worst secret's probably a bad playlist, not a scandal that could topple a lord. The diary's pages rustle, daring you to keep going, but the night's tugging you onward. You slip out, the parlor's glow fading behind you. Harriet's voice lingers, all cunning and charm, urging you to unravel the next thread. The city hums, its shadows hiding players in this dangerous game. Where's this chase leading you now? You're hurrying through London's drizzle now. The diary a quiet weight under your cloak as you skirt the edges of Belgravia. The air's sharp with coal smoke and the faint sweetness of tuberose, a courtesan's signature scent. You're chasing the perfume and peril of their world, where a single forbidden affair could unravel everything. Women like Elizabeth Armistead, a real 1780s courtesan-turned-actress, lived on this knife's edge, and her diary, if you could hold it, would pulse with danger. You hear the soft splash of puddles and the distant wail of a violin, like the city's warning you to watch your step. Imagine you're in Elizabeth's private study, a cocoon of damask and candlelight. Her diary rests on a cluttered desk, its pages stained with ink and urgency. Historical fact: Elizabeth's charm won her a future prime minister as a lover, and she later married him, defying her past. You read her words, each one trembling with the thrill of a secret affair, not with her patron, but a younger man who meets her in shadowed corners. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans used hairpins as makeshift keys to lock diaries, twisting them into tiny brass clasps. Bet your bobby pins feel boring now. You sink into her chair, the diary's heat drawing you in. Elizabeth writes of stolen hours, her lover's whispered vows clashing with the threat of exposure. A jealous patron's sniffing around, and one wrong move could cost her everything: her home, her status, her heart. Historians still argue whether her love was a reckless leap or a calculated step toward security. You feel the panic in her pen, the way she clings to hope despite the odds. The room's too quiet, the air thick with wax and fear. You're not just a reader, you're her accomplice, holding your breath as the stakes climb. A knock at the door jolts you. Nobody's there, but your heart's racing. You smirk. At least your late-night scrolling doesn't come with this much dread. Elizabeth's world is a tightrope, every kiss a gamble. Remember Harriet's web of spies. This feels raw, like Elizabeth's fighting for her soul. You chuckle softly. Your biggest risk is probably a spoiler, not a scandal that could ruin you. The diary's pages flutter, urging you to keep reading, but the night's pulling you forward. You slip back into the rain. Elizabeth's study fading behind you. Her voice clings, all defiance and dread, pushing you to follow the next scent of danger. The city's alive, its shadows hiding threats and promises. Where's this story dragging you now? You're gliding through London's polished heart now, the diary still tucked close, its secrets humming under your cloak. The rain's eased, leaving the air heavy with the scent of wet stone and gardenias from a nearby window. You're stepping into the glittering world of a Mayfair ballroom, where courtesans like Kitty Fisher negotiated velvet bargains. Love and power traded in waltzes and whispers. The clink of champagne flutes and the rustle of silk gowns fill the night, but you know every smile here hides a price. You're here to uncover what Kitty's diary might reveal about these delicate, dangerous deals. Picture yourself slipping into the ballroom, chandeliers casting a golden haze over swirling couples. Kitty, a real 1750s courtesan, was a star here. Historical fact. Her portrait by Joshua Reynolds hung in noble houses, her fame rivaling royalty. You imagine her diary hidden in a satin purse, its pages scribbling the rules of this game. She writes of a lord's promise, jewels for her favor, but also of a softer vow from a man who sees her beyond the glamour. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans slipped coded notes into dance cards, scheduling trysts between quadrilles. Bet your calendar app's less thrilling. You linger by a marble pillar, the diary's weight grounding you. Kitty's words weave a tightrope. She must charm her patrons, dodge their wives' glares, and guard her heart from a lover who might be her ruin. Historians still argue whether she played men for power or craved a love that could free her. You feel her exhaustion, the way she dances through expectations while dreaming of escape. The ballroom's warm, the air thick with perfume and ambition. You're not just watching, you're balancing on her tightrope, feeling the pull of every choice. A fan snaps shut nearby and you flinch. Someone's watching, or maybe it's just the heat. You smirk, at least your social blunders don't spark duels. Kitty's world is all about leverage, every glance a contract, every sigh a risk. Remember Elizabeth's perilous affair? Kitty's game is flashier but no less fraught. You chuckle softly. Your worst faux pas is probably a bad text, not a misstep that could cost your livelihood. The diary's pages seem to pulse, urging you to keep reading, but the music's fading, and the night's pushing you onward. You slip out, the ballroom's glow dimming behind you. Kitty's voice lingers, all charm and calculation, daring you to follow her next move. The city hums, its shadows hiding more bargains, more risks. Where's this dance leading you now? You're slipping away from the ballroom's golden haze, the diary still a quiet anchor under your cloak, as you wander into London's quieter streets. The air's cooler now, carrying the sharp tang of coal fires and the faint echo of a distant scandal. You're chasing whispers of an exposé, a courtesan's diary that could ruin noble reputations and shake the city's elite. Women like Fanny Murray, a real 1740s courtesan, wielded their pens like weapons, and you're here to feel the tremor of their secrets spilling. The cobblestones gleam under gaslight, and you hear the soft rustle of papers, as if the city's holding its breath. Imagine you're in a dimly lit coffee house, its walls stained with tobacco and secrets. Fanny's diary tucked in your hands crackles with danger. Historical fact, her rumored memoirs, though never published, sent lords scrambling to buy her silence. You read her entries, each one a spark that could ignite a firestorm. She names names, dukes, MPs, even a bishop, detailing their promises and betrayals. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans hid scandalous pages in hat boxes, tucked under feathers and ribbons. Bet your closet's never been that juicy. You huddle in a corner booth, The diaries wait, pressing you into the present. Fanny writes of a patron who begged her to burn her pages, offering gold for her silence. But there's another thread, a lover who urged her to speak, to free herself. Historians still argue whether she held back out of fear or cunning, waiting for a bigger payout. You feel her defiance, the way she toys with power while dodging its claws. The coffee house hums, the air thick with whispers and steam. You're not just reading, you're holding a fuse, wondering if it'll light. A chair scrapes nearby, and you glance up. Nobody's there, but your pulse jumps. You smirk, at least your group chats don't threaten to topple dynasties. Fanny's world is a chessboard, every word a move, every secret a checkmate. Remember Kitty's velvet bargains. This is rar. Like Fanny's daring the city to blink. You chuckle softly. Your worst gossip's probably a coworker's bad lunch, not a scandal that could spark a riot. The diary's pages tremble, urging you to turn them, but the night's tugging you forward. You slip out, the coffee house's warmth fading behind you. Fanny's voice clings, all fire and nerve, pushing you to chase the next whisper. The city's alive, its shadows hiding secrets that could change everything. Where's this scandal pulling you now? You're darting through London's shadowed alleys now. The diary clutched tight, its pages practically humming with defiance. The air's damp, laced with the scent of wet wool and the faint musk of illicit perfume. You're chasing the crinoline confessions of a courtesan like Rosalie Duthé, a French beauty who dazzled 1770s London, her diary a bold middle finger to the rules that caged her. The cobblestones are uneven, and you hear the distant clatter of a watchman's lantern, reminding you to stay sharp. This is where rebellion takes shape, inked in secret and hidden from prying eyes. Picture yourself in Rosalie's boudoir, a haven of peach silk and mirrored vanities. Her diary lies open on a chaise, its pages brimming with unapologetic fire. Historical fact: Rosalie was so infamous for her wit. She inspired caricatures and even a play, mocked as the dumb blonde who outsmarted nobles. You read her words, each one a spark of defiance. She scorns the lords who pay for her smile, dreaming instead of a lover who matches her nerve. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans stitched diary pages into petticoats, wearing their secrets like armor. Bet your laundry's never been that bold. You sink onto the chaise, the diary's heat pulling you in. Rosalie writes of rejecting a patron's proposal, choosing her freedom over his gold, and of a clandestine vow with a man who sees her sharp edges. Historians still argue whether her defiance was reckless or a calculated bid for autonomy. You feel her pulse in every line, the way she laughs at society's chains. The room's soft, the air heavy with lilac and rebellion. You're not just reading, you're cheering her on, caught in her fearless orbit. A curtain flutters, and you tense. Was that a breeze or a spy? You smirk. At least your bad decisions don't involve dodging angry duchesses. Rosalie's world is a gauntlet, every choice a dare, every love a revolt. Remember Fanny's explosive secrets, Rosalie's quieter but no less fierce, her pen carving out a space to exist. You chuckle softly. Your worst rebellion's probably a late-night pizza order, not a stand that could shake a city. The diary's pages beckon, but the night's urging you onward. You slip back into the alley, Rosalie's boudoir fading behind you. Her voice lingers, all grit and grace, daring you to follow her next act of defiance. The city's alive, its shadows hiding more rebels, more truths. Where's this fire leading you now? You're racing through London's rain-slicked alleys now. The diary a steady weight against your chest, its secrets urging you forward. The drizzle stings your face, mixing with the scent of mud and faint lavender from a passing vendor. You're following the fading footsteps of a courtesan like Mary Robinson, a real 1780s actress turned mistress, whose diary whispers of a desperate escape from the city's grip. The cobblestones echo with your steps, and you hear the low growl of thunder, like London's warning you to turn back. This is where love and freedom collide, and you're chasing her trail. Picture yourself in a cramped attic hideout, its slanted roof leaking just enough to patter on the floorboards. Mary's diary, dog-eared and ink-smudged, rests on a rickety table. Historical fact: Mary's affair with a young prince made headlines, but poverty shadowed her later years, her writings her only refuge. You read her entries, each one a map of her flight. She describes slipping through alleys, her lover at her side, dodging patrons and spies who drag her back. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans used soot as makeshift makeup to disguise themselves during escapes, smudging their faces like thieves. Bet your concealer's never been that clutch. You crouch by the table, the diary's urgency pulling you in. Mary writes of her heart pounding, her crinoline snagging on fences, and the lover who swore to build a new life with her. Historians still argue whether her escape was a romantic leap or a doomed grasp at survival. You feel her fear, the way she clings to hope despite the rain and the odds. The attic's damp, the air thick with mildew and defiance. You're not just reading, you're running with her, breathless, caught in her gamble for freedom. A board creaks below, and you freeze. Someone's searching, or maybe it's just the storm. You smirk. At least your worst chase is for a late bus, not a life-or-death sprint. Mary's world is a labyrinth, every step a risk, every ally a question mark. Remember Rosalie's bold confessions. Mary's fight is grittier, her pen tracing a path through the dark. You chuckle softly. Your biggest escape's probably a Netflix binge, not a dash from a gilded cage. The diary's pages flutter, begging you to keep going, but the night's pushing you forward. You slip out, the attic's shadows fading behind you. Mary's voice clings, all resolve and desperation, urging you to follow her next step. The city's alive, its alleys hiding more runaways, more dreams. Where's this flight taking you now? You're stumbling through London's sodden underbelly now. The diary clutched tight, its leather damp from the relentless drizzle. The air's heavy with the stink of river mud and the ghostly trace of tuberose, a courtesan's scent clinging to the night. You're chasing the unsent letters of a woman like Veronica Franco, a Venetian courtesan whose 1570s fame reached London's shores, her diary a vault of love never mailed. The alleys twist, and you hear the lap of the Thames, like it's mourning with you. This is where longing lives, locked away, and you're here to unlock it. Picture yourself in a cramped riverside garret, its window cracked, letting in the city's wet breath. Veronica's diary, its pages brittle, lies on a splintered desk. Historical fact: Veronica's poetry, published in her lifetime, wove her loves into verse, but her private letters were burned or hidden. You read her unsent notes, each one a wound. She writes to a lover who vanished, a soldier maybe, her words dripping with ache for a future they'll never share. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans sealed letters with wax mixed with their perfume, a scented plea to be remembered. Bet your post-its don't hit that hard. You lean against the wall, the diary's grief sinking into you. Veronica describes her lover's laugh, the way he promised to return, and the drawer where she hides his replies, too dangerous to send. Historians still argue whether her love was a poet's fantasy or a real bond that broke her. You feel her isolation, the way she pours her soul into pages nobody will read. The garret's cold, the air thick with salt and sorrow. You're not just reading, you're mourning with her, holding the weight of words never sent. A gull cries outside, and you flinch. Nobody's coming, but your heart's heavy. You smirk, at least your unsent texts don't carry this kind of pain. Veronica's world is a silent scream, every letter a risk, every hope a ghost. Remember Mary's desperate escape? This is quieter, but no less raw, her pen a lifeline to a lost love. You chuckle softly. Your worst heartbreak's probably a bad date, not a vow locked in a drawer. The diary's pages stick together, urging you to turn them, but the night's pulling you onward. You slip out, the garret's chill fading behind you. Veronica's voice lingers, all longing and loss, begging you to carry her words forward. The city's alive, its shadows hiding more inspoken loves. Where's this sorrow leading you now? You're trudging through London's rain-soaked fringes now. The diary a sodden weight under your cloak, its secrets undimmed by the downpour. The air's thick with the reek of wet coal, and the faint sting of gin from a nearby tavern. You're facing the harsh verdict of Victorian morality, where a courtesan like Marguerite Gautier, fictional but rooted in real-life Marie Duplessis, could be crushed by society's judgment if her diary's secrets spilled. The streets feel narrower, the gaslights dimmer, like the city's closing in. You hear the mutter of gossip, sharp as a blade, and you're here to feel its cut. Picture yourself in a cramped courtroom of whispers, not stone, a parlor where society's elite dissect reputations over tea. Marguerite's diary, clutched in your hands, is a ticking bomb, historical fact. Marie Duplessis's real-life death in 1847 sparked moral crusades, her life vilified in sermons as a cautionary tale. You read her entries, each one a plea for understanding. She writes of her lover's betrayal, his family's scorn, and the public's glee at her downfall. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans wore mourning veils to public shaming, hiding tears behind lace. Bet your sunglasses don't carry that kind of weight. You stand in the parlor's shadows, the diary's pain anchoring you. Marguerite describes the sting of being called fallen, her love for a young artist dismissed as sin. Historians still argue whether society's wrath was about morality or fear of women like her wielding power. You feel her defiance, the way she clings to her truth despite the sneers. The room's stifling, the air heavy with lavender and hypocrisy. You're not just reading, you're standing trial with her, heart pounding as the verdict looms. A teacup clinks, and you tense. Nobody's looking, but you feel exposed. You smirk, at least your bad days don't end in social exile. Marguerite's world is a gallows of gossip, every word a noose, every love a crime. Remember Veronica's unsent letters. This is louder, a public flogging in ink and whispers. You chuckle softly. Your worst judgment's probably a side-eye, not a sermon preached against you. The diary's pages cling to your fingers, urging you to keep going, but the night's pressing forward. You slip out, the parlor's scorn fading behind you. Marguerite's voice lingers, all pride and pain, daring you to face the next blow. The city's alive, its shadows hiding more judgments, more fights. Where's this trial taking you now? You're weaving through London's glittering core again. The diary still pressed close, its damp leather a quiet reminder of the secrets you've carried. The rains stopped, leaving the air crisp with the scent of wet pavement and the faint glow of roses from a street vendor. You're stepping into a final ball, where a courtesan like Cora Pearl, yes, her again, risks everything for love in a swirl of silk and defiance. The grand hall's lights spill onto the street, and you hear the lilt of a waltz, tempting you inside. This is where it all converges. Love, scandal, and a last stand, and you're here to witness it. Picture yourself slipping into the ballroom, its chandeliers dripping crystal, the air thick with champagne and whispered bets. Cora's diary, tucked in your cloak, burns with her final gamble. Historical fact, Cora's 1860s extravagance, like hosting dinners on her own silver-plated bed, made her a legend, but her heart belonged to one man, not her patrons. You imagine her here, in emerald satin, dancing with a lover who's no lord, just a man who sees her soul. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans slipped tiny lockets into their partners' pockets during dances, tokens of love disguised as trinkets. Bet your keychains never been that romantic. You linger by a velvet curtain, the diary's pulse syncing with yours. Cora writes of this night, her lover's hand in hers, their plan to flee London's judgment. But eyes are everywhere, patrons, rivals, gossips ready to pounce. Historians still argue whether her boldness was love's triumph or a reckless fall. You feel her fire, the way she dances like the world can't touch her, even as it closes in. The ballroom's warm, the air heavy with perfume and peril. You're not just watching, you're swaying with her, caught in her daring leap. A glass shatters nearby, and you flinch. Someone's watching, or maybe it's just the crowd. You smirk, at least your worst risk is a bad karaoke pick, not a love that could ruin you. Cora's world is ablaze, every step a spark, every glance a flame. Remember Marguerite's trial by gossip. This is brighter, a defiant waltz against the odds. You chuckle softly. Your biggest drama's probably a Wi-Fi crash, not a scandal that could torch your life. The diary's pages flutter, urging you to stay, but the music's slowing and the night's winding down. You slip out, the ballroom's glow fading behind you. Cora's voice lingers, all courage and heat, daring you to hold her story close. The city's alive, its shadows softening, ready to let you rest. Where's this dance leaving you now? You're drifting away from the ballroom's fading light now. The diary's still warm against you, its pages heavy with the echoes of Cora's final waltz. The London streets are quieter, the air soft with the scent of damp leaves and distant hearth fires. You're lingering on the embers of memory, where courtesans like Cora, Mary, and Veronica left their truths in ink, defying time itself. The gaslights flicker gently, and you hear the low hum of the city, settling into sleep, inviting you to pause. This is where their stories glow, like coals in a dying fire, and you're here to hold them one last time. Picture yourself in a quiet attic, not unlike Mary's hideout, but warmer, with a single window framing a sliver of moon. The diary, imagine it's a blend of all their voices, rests on a worn table, its leather cracked but alive. Historical fact, many courtesans' writings, like those of Harriet Wilson, survived only in fragments, their full stories lost to censorship or fire. You open the pages, each one a whisper of love that outlasted scandal. Cora's bold dance, Veronica's unsent letters, Rosalie's defiance. A quirky tidbit: some courtesans pressed flowers between their pages, tokens of lovers long gone. Bet your bookmarks aren't that poetic. You settle onto a creaky chair. The diary's weight, a gentle anchor. The words blur, not from tears, but from the softness of the moment. Tales of stolen kisses, coded vows, and hearts that refuse to break. Historians still argue whether these women were rebels or romantics, but you see them as both. Their pens, carving light into the dark. The attic still, the air thick with dust and dreams. You're not just reading, you're keeping their memories alive, feeling their courage in every fading line. A breeze stirs the curtain, and you smile. No threats here, just the night's embrace. You chuckle softly, at least your keepsakes are photos, not secrets that could topple lords. Remember Cora's emerald satin, Mary's rain-soaked flight. Their stories weave together now, a tapestry of love and nerve. Your worst loss is probably a misplaced charger, not a life left in ink. The diary's pages still, and you close it gently, ready to let the city rest. Wind down. You're sinking deeper now, the attic fading into a softer haze. Like a dream you're not quite ready to leave. The diary's weight eases, its stories settling into your bones, warm and safe. The moon outside glows gentler, its light a whisper against the window, telling you it's okay to let go. You feel the courtesans' voices, Cora, Mary, Veronica, fading into a lullaby, their loves and losses no longer sharp, but smooth, like river stones worn by time. The air's cooler, carrying only the scent of old wood and distant rain, and you're wrapped in a quiet that feels like home. There's no rush, no danger, just the slow rhythm of your breath, matching the city's sleepy pulse. You're safe here, held by the night, drifting toward a place where worries dissolve. Let the stories rest, let the shadows soften, and let sleep carry you gently, like a boat on a calm tide. Whisper to yourself, you're enough, just as you are. Sweet dreams.